He had everything: money, power, success. But when she asked him one simple question, his entire world collapsed in seconds. What happens when you finally become successful, but still feel empty? That moment didn't just change his life. It forced him to face the truth he had been running from his whole existence. Was he really successful, or just lost in disguise? Watch till the end, because what she does next will completely redefine what success truly means. I used to say I wanted success. I said it loudly, confidently, convincingly. But in the quiet hours, I chose comfort. Late mornings, half-finished plans, excuses dressed as reasons. My father once looked at me, eyes tired, voice low, and said, "Dreams demand discipline." I laughed it off. Weeks turned into years. Opportunities came, and I let them pass, like strangers in a crowd. Then came the day. Everything collapsed. The small business I barely built crumbled under my neglect. Debt followed. Friends disappeared. And the woman I loved walked away. Or so I thought. Her name was Aisha. She saw through me, not the image I showed, but the truth I hid. One night, in the dim glow of a flickering bulb, she stood in front of me, not angry, not loud, just disappointed. "You are not poor," she said softly. "You are undisciplined." Those words burned deeper than any insult. I felt exposed, broken, ashamed. She did not leave. Instead, she stayed, but not to comfort me, to rebuild me. She woke me before sunrise, placed cold water in my hands, made me face the mirror I had avoided for years. Day after day, she stood beside me, through rejection, through hunger, through nights when failure felt heavier than breath. I wanted to quit, many times, but she never let me. "Pain is temporary," she would say, "but regret stays." Slowly, something shifted. I started showing up, not perfectly, but consistently. One small win became another, then another. Years later, I stood in a glass tower with my name on it, a billionaire. They called me, but they did not see the truth. The early mornings, the silent tears, the woman who refused to let me stay weak. The day I signed my biggest deal, I turned to her, ready to say everything I never said before. And what she told me next changed everything I believed about success. She did not smile. She did not celebrate. She simply looked at me, steady, calm, unshaken by the noise of my success. "I am leaving," she said. The words cut deeper than every failure I had ever known. My chest tightened. "Why now?" I asked, my voice no longer powerful, just small. "You do not need me anymore." That was her answer. Simple, sharp, final. But she was wrong. Or maybe I was afraid she was right. I remembered the nights she skipped meals so I could eat. The mornings she stood in the cold just to wake me. The quiet strength behind every step I took. "You built this," I said, my voice breaking. "We built this." She shook her head slowly. "No," she whispered. "I showed you who you could be. You chose to become him." Silence filled the room. Heavy, unavoidable. For the first time, my success felt empty. All the wealth, all the recognition, all the power meant nothing if she walked away. "I was lazy," I said. "I was weak. And you stayed." My hands trembled. "Now I am strong. And you want to leave?" Her eyes softened, but her resolve did not break. Strength is not proven when someone is watching, she said. It is proven when you stand alone. That truth, it hit harder than everything before it. Had I really changed? Or had I just leaned on her strength to carry mine? I stepped closer, not as a billionaire, but as the man she once chose to believe in. I do not want to succeed alone, I said. My voice was quiet, but real. I want to earn you. Every day. For the first time, her eyes filled with tears. Not of pain, but of something deeper. Something fragile. Something undecided. She turned away slightly, as if fighting a battle within herself. And in that moment, I realized this was not about love anymore. It was about truth, about who I had become, and who I still needed to prove I was. She took a slow breath and began to say something that would either rebuild us or end us forever. She did not turn back immediately. Her fingers tightened around the edge of the table, as if holding herself together. Then, slowly, she spoke. If I stay, she said, it will not be as your strength. Her voice was calm, but it carried a quiet storm. It will be as your equal. The word settled deep inside me. Equal, not a guide, not a savior. Equal. I swallowed hard. I do not want to be carried anymore, I said. I want to walk beside you. She turned then, eyes searching mine, not for promises, but for truth. Then prove it, she replied, not loudly, not harshly, but with a weight that made my past feel small. Days passed. No grand gestures, no dramatic speeches, just choices. Quiet, consistent choices. I woke before dawn, not because she asked, but because I chose to. I worked, not for success, but for discipline. I listened, truly listened, when she spoke, and when I failed, I did not hide. I stood in it, owned it, learned from it. For the first time in my life, I was not chasing success. I was becoming worthy of it. Weeks turned into months. The distance between us did not vanish overnight, but something shifted. One evening, as the city lights flickered below us, she stood beside me again, not ahead, not behind, beside. You are different, she said quietly. Not praise, not disbelief, just truth. I exhaled, a breath I felt I had been holding for years. I am trying, I answered. She nodded slowly. I can see that. Silence followed, but this time, it was not heavy. It was peaceful. Then she reached for my hand, a small gesture, but one that carried every struggle, every lesson, every scar we had survived. And in that moment, I understood something deeper than success. That wealth can build empires, but only character can hold them together. Her fingers tightened slightly, as if she was about to say something more, something that would define what came next for us, and whether this new beginning was truly strong enough to last. She drew a slow breath, as if weighing every word against the years behind us. I have one condition, she said. My heart stilled, not from fear, but from knowing this would decide everything. No shortcuts, she continued. No pretending. No falling back into comfort. When things become easy. Her eyes held mine, unblinking, honest, unforgiving in their truth. I will not stay with the man you were. The air felt sharper, real. I understand, I said, and for once, I meant it completely, not as a promise to impress her, but as a decision to rebuild myself. Every single day, time moved forward, not in leaps, but in steady, quiet steps. We work together now, not just in life, but in purpose. She challenged me, questioned my choices, refused to let success make me careless. And I welcomed it, because I had learned what comfort truly costs. There were nights when old habits whispered, rest a little longer, delay a little more. You have earned it. But I remembered the man I used to be, and I refused to return to him. One evening, we stood in a room filled with people, investors, leaders, voices that once felt unreachable. They spoke my name with respect, admiration, but my eyes searched only for her. She stood at a distance, watching, not impressed by the wealth, but measuring something deeper, something only she could see. I walked toward her, each step carrying the weight of my journey. I kept my word, I said quietly. She studied me, not the suit, not the success, but the man beneath it all. Then, slowly, she nodded, a small gesture, yet it felt greater than every achievement I had ever earned. You did, she replied, her voice softer now, but still strong, still grounded, still real. For a moment, everything felt complete, balanced, right. But then, her expression shifted, just slightly, enough for me to notice, enough to remind me that growth never ends, that strength is tested when you believe you have finally arrived. She leaned closer. She drew a slow breath, as if weighing every word against the years behind us. I have one condition, she said. My heart stilled, not from fear, but from knowing this would decide everything. No shortcuts, she continued. No pretending. No falling back into comfort. When things become easy. Her eyes held mine, unblinking, honest, unforgiving in their truth. I will not stay with the man you were. The air felt sharper, real. I understand, I said, and for once, I meant it completely, not as a promise to impress her, but as a decision to rebuild myself. Every single day, time moved forward, not in leaps, but in steady, quiet steps. We work together now, not just in life, but in purpose. She challenged me, questioned my choices, refused to let success make me careless. And I welcomed it, because I had learned what comfort truly costs. There were nights when old habits whispered, rest a little longer, delay a little more. You have earned it. But I remembered the man I used to be, and I refused to return to him. One evening, we stood in a room filled with people, investors, leaders, voices that once felt unreachable. They spoke my name with respect, admiration, but my eyes searched only for her. She stood at a distance, watching, not impressed by the wealth, but measuring something deeper, something only she could see. I walked toward her, each step carrying the weight of my journey. I kept my word, I said quietly. She studied me, not the suit, not the success, but the man beneath it all. Then, slowly, she nodded, a small gesture, yet it felt greater than every achievement I had ever earned. You did, she replied, her voice softer now, but still strong, still grounded, still real. For a moment, everything felt complete, balanced, right. But then, her expression shifted, Just slightly. Enough for me to notice. Enough to remind me that growth never ends. That strength is tested when you believe you have finally arrived. She leaned closer. A quiet question formed between us, one that neither wealth nor discipline could easily answer. A question about what comes next, when even success is no longer enough. She did not ask it aloud at first, but I felt it in the silence between us, in the way she looked at the horizon, as if searching for something beyond success itself. "What happens," she finally said, "when you have everything you once wanted and still feel the need to become more?" I exhaled slowly. That question was the one I had avoided my entire life. "I used to think success was the answer," I said, "but it only created more questions." She nodded, not surprised, not impressed, just aware. We walked together that evening. No destination, only movement. The city was alive around us. Lights, noise, ambition. But inside me, something quieter was growing. Understanding. "I built my life by running," I admitted. "From failure. From laziness. From fear." I paused. "And now I do not know how to stand still." She stopped walking. So did I. For a moment, the world felt distant. "You are not meant to stand still," she said gently. "You are meant to be grounded." The words landed differently this time. Not as instruction, not as correction, but as truth I was finally ready to hear. Grounded, not driven by fear, not controlled by ambition, but anchored in awareness. I looked at her, really looked, not as someone who saved me, but as someone who stayed, while I learned to save myself. "I used to think I needed you," I said quietly. She shook her head. "No," she replied. "You needed to find yourself." A long silence followed. Then she added, "And I needed to stop being your reason and start being your companion." Something shifted inside me again, deeper this time. Not ambition, not fear, but clarity. For the first time, success did not feel like a destination. It felt like responsibility. Not just to build more, but to live better. She began walking again, slowly, and I followed, not behind her. The path ahead was uncertain, not because we lacked success, but because we were finally asking the questions that success alone could never answer. And in that quiet uncertainty, something new was beginning to form between us. Something neither of us had fully named yet. We kept walking, side by side, no longer chasing anything, yet not standing still either. The silence between us was no longer heavy. It was alive, breathing, teaching me things I had ignored for years. "I used to think love was distraction," I said quietly. She glanced at me. "And now?" I hesitated. Now it felt like something else entirely. Not distraction, not reward, but direction. "I think love without growth becomes comfort," I said, "and comfort becomes decline." She stopped walking. So did I. The wind moved gently around us, carrying the noise of a world that never paused. But we did. "I am not asking you to stop growing," she said. "I am asking you to stop forgetting yourself while you grow." Her words hit deeper than any success I had achieved, because she was right. In building everything, I had often left myself behind. "I do not want to lose you again," I said honestly. She did not answer immediately. Instead, she looked at me with a calm I had learned to respect. "I was never lost," she said softly. "I was just not meant to be your destination." A quiet truth unfolded in that moment. She was not something I reached. She was someone I walked with. Through change. Through failure. Through becoming. We stood there for a long time. No promises spoken loudly. No grand declarations. Only understanding. And then she asked something different. Something simple, but deeply unsettling. "If everything you have built disappeared tomorrow," she said, "who would you be without it?" The question stayed in the air. Unanswered. Unavoidable. I looked at my hands. Hands that once built an empire. Hands that once trembled in failure. And for the first time, I did not think about success. I thought about identity. Who I was. Without titles. Without wealth. Without validation. The answer did not come quickly. But something inside me began to shift again, as if life was preparing to strip everything once more, to reveal something deeper underneath, something neither of us had fully discovered yet. And the next step forward would not be about building more, but about understanding what truly remains when everything is gone. I stood there for a long moment. No answers. No noise. Only truth. "I would still be me," I finally said. "Just stripped of everything I used to hide behind." She nodded slowly, as if that was the answer she had been waiting for all along. The wind softened. The city lights flickered below us, like a quiet reminder that life keeps moving, whether we feel ready or not. "I am not afraid of losing success anymore," I added. "I am afraid of losing meaning." She looked at me, not with approval, not with doubt, but with peace. "Then you have finally learned something important," she said gently. "Success is not what you build. It is what you become while building." Those words settled inside me, like something permanent. Not exciting, not dramatic, just true. We walked again. This time, there was no destination in my mind. Only presence. Only awareness. Only the quiet understanding that everything I once chased had led me back to myself. Months later, I no longer measured my days by growth alone. I measured them by balance, by honesty, by the way I treated people when no one was watching. She stayed, not as a guide, not as a savior, but as a partner who refused to let me forget who I was becoming. And I finally understood her greatest gift to me. She never gave me success. She gave me awareness. And I built everything else from there. One evening, I asked her, "Was it worth it, staying through all my failures?" She smiled faintly. "I did not stay for your success," she said. "I stayed for your change." That was the moment I understood the deepest truth of all. People do not transform because they are rich, or powerful, or admired. They transform when someone refuses to give up on who they can become. And when that happens, success stops being a destination. It becomes a reflection of who you already are. Moral: laziness delays dreams, but discipline rebuilds destiny. And real success is not what you achieve alone. It is who you become with integrity, love, and growth.